This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
We are now on to the third and final day of the convention, and it's actually late afternoon and a lot of things have already happened. We're going to be talking about the things that have transpired this morning and this afternoon, and we're now clearing the room, getting ready for the evening dinner and gala. And I wanted to also, before we get into talking about what all has been going on, I want to talk about what happened then yesterday, and I'm here with someone who is, are you the curator, actually, then? Who presented yesterday a great presentation and is in charge of the ephemera and everything there at the New York Public Library, and that is Anne-Marie Van Russel. So, hello, Anne-Marie.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you very much for your passion. And that was the thing that came through yesterday as I was listening to what you were saying. Just the way you were looking at the things and talking about them, it's like this means so much, and every story, everything had a story, and you are keeping history alive there.
Thank you. Yeah, I really take the collection so much to heart. This curating this exhibition has really been such a labor of love. It was a lot of work, but I have gotten to know all of the magicians that exist in photographs and correspondence and papers and programs in my collection. I feel like I know them in a very parasocial way, but they've really become just part of my family, so to speak. And I really just so enjoy sharing them with folks who are very familiar with them. And then also through the exhibition, having so many people discover magic. I have toured hundreds and hundreds of people through the exhibition at this point. Non-magicians who have just kind of had their curiosity piqued by this exhibition. They're not quite sure what they're going to encounter, and their reactions have just been so wonderful.
What kind of reactions have they had, then, Anne-Marie? I mean, from the standpoint of saying, where can I get more information, or how can I become a magician, or what are they asking you?
I get a lot of folks telling me about the first time they ever saw a magic show. These moments in their lives have really been so important to them, but maybe they haven't had somebody to talk to about it for a while, and so they like to sort of share who they saw first and what that meant to them at that time in their life. I really always make sure to close my tours for the exhibition with an encouragement for people to go out and see magic. I tell them that this exhibition is really looking at a particular time period in New York City, but that magic has thrived in the city ever since, and that there's magic happening in New York City virtually every night of the week.
Oh, that's true.
So I really want people to understand that a lot of what they might even see in a show today has its roots in the golden age and what they're seeing in the exhibition.
So are you actually giving tours through there, or are you just kind of letting them find it on their own, or what do you do?
So the exhibition is open 6 days a week. During the open hours of the library, folks can come in and go through the exhibition on their own, but I am also doing guided tours twice a month, and I'm doing private tours for anyone who contacts me. I'm saying yes to everybody. At this point. We're about halfway through the run of the exhibition, and I've done 39 tours, and it's really been such a treat. I have loved sharing this exhibition with experienced historians and magicians, and then, as I said, people who are just kind of coming to magic maybe after some years having seen a first show. So.
I thought we were referring to this as the Billy Rose collection or something. So, but then there was someone else that was actually the first one who had started the collection. So I'm kind of confused as to whose collection all this is.
Sure. So I am the assistant curator for the Billy Rose Theater Division, which is the New York Public Library for the Performing Arts. We're located at Lincoln Center in New York City. And the Billy Rose Theater Division, we have been collecting materials on magic and magicians for well over 100 years. And the very first magic collection that we acquired was the collection of Dr. Sarum Ellison, who lived in New York City, was one of the co-founders of the Society of American Magicians. And in 1910, he was beginning to think about what to do with the library that he was creating, which was, in fact, at the time, probably the most important magic collection, magic library in the entire United States. 1910, he turned to the New York Public Library and asked if we would be interested in taking his collection. And so between 1910 and his death in 1918, he began transferring his library to us. What an extraordinarily generous gift.
And what I think is fascinating also is this does not include anything but ephemera. I mean, in other words, they're not large props and illusions and tables and things like that, and side tables or whatever. This really is just all paper.
Well, when Ellison gave his collection to us between, again, 1910 and 1918, we got his library, so traditional books and magazines, but we also got his magician wands and his illusion models. These are small models that he hand-built. The library gave back the wands and the models. That's a whole story, but we kept his books and his magazines. The library is not a museum, so I don't think we were ever interested. We have never been interested in collecting sort of the big props and apparatus and the big 3D stuff. We have tended to prefer text and then also ephemera and especially photographs. And posters, of course, visual material.
Much like, where I'm from in Austin, of course, the Derek Collery with the Ransom Center would be your counterpart, I guess.
Absolutely,
basically.
Absolutely. And we know that Houdini had, very good relationships with Ellison, and I can suggest, posit that maybe Houdini's library was in fact perhaps inspired by Ellison's library. Yeah. Houdini did contribute materials to Ellison's library, for sure.
So after this closes, then this will go back into storage, and they'll bring it out again, I guess, sometime in the future, or a little bit at a time. Will we do some things that will always be rotating, or?
So everything in the exhibition, with the exception of the three-dimensional artifacts, which have been graciously loaned to us for the exhibition, everything will go back into our storage, our shelves, our flat files, our good storage, but it is all available for researchers. We are open 6 days a week. So once the exhibition closes and I put everything safely away, then anybody can come to our library and say they want to see Houdini's posters or Ellison's scrapbooks.
Pull them back out.
We will pull them out at virtually a moment's notice. No appointments needed. We are happy to share that with anyone. As a researcher. That's right.
Well, Anna Marie, thank you very much again for your passion and for what you've been doing to help keep magic alive in the New York City area, and also just for the rest of the world that gets to come and see this. It's a fabulous exhibit.
Thank you so much. It's really been a delight. Thank you.
So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Anna Marie Van Russel. This is Scotty out. Well, we just finished talking briefly there with Anna Marie, and I thought that was just fascinating to get her take on what she'd been doing to help the museum over there. But right now I've got Brad Henderson with me to kind of do a little recap of what you guys have missed this morning and this afternoon. Hello, Brad.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Having a great time. You enjoying the convention?
It's always a good convention.
It really is. Yeah. Next year, be in Chicago. It'll be kind of great then, too. I was just noticing Richard Garriott was with you then also. We just had the Gabe Fihuri auction, and so he looks like he's still collecting stuff, I guess.
Yes. Well, it's an addiction. It's a disease.
For all of us. That's why
there's nothing worse than the day the auction catalog arrives, because either you see things that you want and now you're depressed because you want them, or you look through it and you have everything, or there's nothing you want and you're depressed because there's nothing to look forward to. And then when you buy it, there's always the buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
And then when you get it, you have to figure out where you're going to put it. So, shoot me now.
So a lot of his stuff, when he moved from Austin to New York, I assume, went into a warehouse or...
Well, there were three things. Well, a lot of it went to New York and was on display there. A lot of it went into storage, and a lot of it came to me. When a friend moves, often you get their old couch. Yeah. I got some of his old automaton and some of the old magic stuff. So some of the nicer pieces in my collection are actually from Richards that just didn't make the trip. Often because, in a brownstone in New York, the shelves are not tall enough.
You only have so much room. Right? That's why I was curious. What happened to all that stuff? That's why
a lot of it's still around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad to see him here. So maybe he's starting to kind of get back into a little bit more collecting again. Then.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. So this morning at 11 o'clock, we had the first thing kicking off with Jim Hagee talking. He's an attorney. He specializes in animal cruelty, I guess, and that kind of a thing. So
I don't think that's true.
Not animal cruelty, or what would you say?
I think he's just an attorney. I think he just wrote a book on animals and magic.
Okay, but I thought he taught something in...
he may have.
Okay.
Right? That I don't know.
All right.
Honestly, I showed up about 5 minutes late because 11 o'clock gets earlier and earlier as these things go on.
Yeah.
But Jim is all of Jim's books and research, I just thought he was an author and a great writer and stuff. So, what he does with law, I'm not particularly sure about. But he did talk about the implications of animals and magic. We've kind of jumped the gun here, but he gave a talk. He's written 2 books. They're kind of companion books. One of them is on animal wizards, and then that one's written mainly for the public, but there is a supplemental text which is written for magicians where he actually goes into methods. So but it's the history of the use of animals in conjuring, which goes back, if you think about it, even though the story is a story, it's a fiction, but the very first story of any magician that we have is Dedi of Dedsnefru.
Right.
And what did he do? He did the decapitation and the resurrection illusion. So magical beasts have been a critical part of our art form since its literal inception. Even before magic invented, the guy who invented the idea of the magic show, the guy who wrote the Westcar Papyrus, invented it with an animal act.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I think if you go back, I did a chat with someone. I believe it was with Stefan Trout, and we
an
discussed
appropriate
that.
name for an animal act.
Yes.
Yes.
From Germany, and we were talking about that.
Feed him
So you
little
go back,
ball bearings and make him pick cards.
Talked about Dedi and also about the Westcar Papyrus. And so if you're interested in that kind of a thing, you can go back and...
I believe, and even though I said it and you said it, I believe it's actually, a scholar would call it the Papyrus or Papyrus Westcar.
Okay.
And because in the Conjuring Arts Research Center, they did one of their journals in the past 2 years solely on that manuscript. Mm-hmm. And I remember that was one of those fun facts that I was going to squirrel away. But if you're interested in that particular document, that's probably the best source because they reprint it, they talk about what's really going on, how it fits into the literature of that era to help us interpret it as a literary and quote-unquote historical document. I mean, as a literary artifact, as a historical document. So I would recommend that for anyone interested.
So we kind of got off the subject of Jim
Yes.
Hagee. And after he was finished, then who followed after that?
We had Richard Cohn talking about magic shops in New York, and that was followed by Adam Blumenthal.
It was interesting about all the different places where, for example, Lieutenant, the iterations about, well, I guess that was what Adam talked about more really on that, but as far as Martinka and Misto and all these other places that were around New York City where they'd moved around.
I think the most...
have a rich history.
For me, the most interesting concept, which I think could be mined into not only by magicians, but any kind of scholars of either theatrical history or retail, is this notion of how magic shops tended to move in the area. Because, when I was growing up, magic shops were always in the worst part of town, right? They were next to the stripper club or the drunk area or whatever. But, he suggested that they tended to move with the theater districts, which kind of makes sense. Although there's
because
also
they had masks and makeup and things like that they sold too.
And there were different kinds of shops. There were shops that catered to the general public and walk-in traffic, but any of those that were catering to anyone who was doing it at a level beyond mere amusement, it does make sense that they would be closer to theatrical districts. And, almost every magic shop I went to growing up also did costumes and makeup and masks.
Right.
So doesn't that make sense that would be a perfect ancillary or auxiliary business for a shop like that? So I thought that was a kind of an interesting way to think about how the evolution of magic shops occurred.
Yeah,
it was an
how
interesting
they move,
concept.
how they move from
He
one
just
area to
touched
the-
on it, but I thought that was the most interesting big picture concept.
Yeah, and then after that, then Adam Blumenthal talked about the evolution,
The history of
basically,
tannins,
with Lou Tannen and
Tannen,
family.
yeah, and then Irv and...
what was that called beforehand? It was something in Lewis? Nat and Lewis?
Yes, named after his wife and himself, yes. And that was great. And, I'm sure that for the people that grew up in this area for whom Tannins was their magic cultural shared touch point, that was particularly interesting. But I think all magicians, no matter where you're from, kind of have a memory of their first... I mean, I know when I came to to New York one of the first times, I made my journey to Tannins to see what it was. And when I was teaching at the summer camps, we would do field trips into the city with some of my more serious students, and we would go to Tannen's in the afternoon and mostly Magic at night.
Yeah.
And it was always a highlight of the summer for them.
Right. And so then after that, who was we think we took a lunch break.
Yes.
Then we came
I had pizza.
back, and so you did. Well,
Yeah.
lucky for you. I've not had anything since my cinnamon roll this morning.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm anxious for dinner here later
This is the cutting edge journalism that got you those awards.
Well, because I took your advice and I talked to Just Allen. So that's going to be a podcast episode will be coming up soon. So thank you for leading me in that direction. So next then after that, we kick it off with Don Greenberg, who was talking about serendipitous finds.
Yeah, well, it was really the story of, this amazing collection that spoiler alert, was in his house from youth. I mean, his dad used to help families after the magician passed move along their stuff. But, and this is it's so funny, but it's so true how our value systems change. And we see that in magic. We see how, Bizarre Magic had that giant blow up in the 90s where, books that used to sell for $40 were selling for $400. And, we have at that time, paper was not valued at all. There's the classic story of Davenport's, shipping books wrapped in, Sue posters and things like that.
Right.
And so he would sell the books. He would sell the equipment, and all the poster, all that paper crap, just got stored in the basement. And we got to hear the story of what some of that paper crap really was. And it was, do we want to tell them? Do we want to make it?
No, because
well,
you're not going to hear
there was there was lots of things, but the two stellar is a Raymond 3-sheet that is probably the only example, and the 3-sheet Houdini upside-down water torture cell, of which only 4 are known in the world, and I think one of them sold at auction for an insane amount of money. So, and he was, he slept above it, 2 stories above it.
For years.
So, right.
Yeah. It was just down in his basement before he uncovered all that. Yeah, that was, as you said, quite serendipitous to find all that. And so then following that, Lance Rich kind of hosted a little panel discussion with Stan Allen. Isn't that right?
Well, if Stan is plural, it would be a panel. Since he's singular, I think we should call it an interview.
Okay,
he has been putting on a little weight lately.
So he talked about the history of the
Magic Magazine.
But I was going to say that before that he had the Magic. What was the newsletter that
Inside Magic?
Inside Magic, yeah. That he had. Yeah. Talked a little bit about that,
and even about before then. So it was just the story of how Magic Magazine came to be, and some of the
stories behind the stories,
and some of the moments in Magic Magazine that he selected, curated for us to share. I made honorable mention for fairly nefarious reasons, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yes, your name did come up a time or two. So that was fascinating, I thought, to kind of hear.
It was very entertaining. Stan has great delivery, and
he does.
Lance,
He's a good storyteller.
And I thought Lance did a good job of interviewing and moving things forward, and they had a nice PowerPoint. Well, of course, Lance's PowerPoint work is second to none. And, there was a good PowerPoint to go along with it that, showed that he had really considered what he was going to talk about. And I thought, sometimes when people do interviews or panel discussions, they get a little rambling.
Right.
And it was clear that they put in some forethought into this to make it.
Where they were going and had an ending.
And yet it was still spontaneous. It wasn't scripted. It was a good example of how to do an interview like that.
And closing out the afternoon really is the way they close the collectors every year is with Gabe Fiore.
And the ritual goat sacrifice around the fire.
Well, we're not talking about that.
Oh, sorry.
The drum ritual.
That's only for the initiates. I'm sorry.
That's right. That's the Jeff McBride.
And I tell you what, that is a great loincloth you're wearing this year. I appreciate you going with the longer edition.
Well, you got some handsome knees, I must
say.
Thank you.
Also.
Well, do you shave your legs, or you just lose your hair naturally?
It's kind of natural. I don't know why. I've shag carpet at home, so that explains a lot.
So Gabe Fiore put the hammer down on several items that it said they were going to be going for $100 or $200 or $300, and they all went for much more than what they.
Well, I think, but that's true of any auction. Look,
true.
The problem is, it takes 2 people to make an auction, and if they're in the same room together, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And so many of the things that get auctioned in our world are kind of singular. So, what is a broadside from 1850 that, nobody's seen before? What is that going to go for? Who knows?
Right.
And, one of the things that was auctioned was a misprinted issue of the first issue of Magic magazine. And, what's that worth to somebody? Well, apparently it's $900.
Yes. Well, it went to a good cause, though, too.
Yes. There was a charitable aspect to that as well.
Right. So, overall, that was a wrap on what's been happening today that you have missed. And then the dealers are all packed up, and now they're just swapping over the room to put the tables in for the evening dinner.
And it's going to be different this year. Normally it's dinner and then the show.
Stand-up.
But they're going to have. We're going to have a stand-up show too. So that's all going to happen. But we also have the addition of a close-up magic experience early. So we'll see how that goes and logistically and how that plays out.
With Rachel Wax and Alex Boyce and
Noah Levine or Levine. I'm not sure how it's Noah. And with Noah. Tannen's Noah. Levine, what is the...
Schlemazo.
There we go.
Huff and Pfeffer Incorporated.
That's right.
So
look at us.
That would wrap it up over here for right now.
Happy days.
We got more with our happy days ahead of us, and also
hey.
The Magic Word Podcast. That was Brad Henderson. Scotty out. As Brad and I were just talking, one of the presenters that we were listening to this afternoon was telling us about Magic Magazine, and I've got the former editor and also the guy who is the organizer of Magic Live right now with me, Stan Allen. Hello, Stan.
Good morning.
And you've been coming for a long time. Seems like morning. I know it's actually almost 4 o'clock. So you have been coming for a long time, going back to the LA History Conference. And who was it that sponsored? Was that Mike Caveney, and who all put all that together?
Mike Caveney, Jim Steinmeier, John Gahn. It started with Ricky, but he dropped out right away after the first one or two. And
that was after the Chicago thing, too, right? Because I guess
it was
Jay
totally
Marshall
different
started.
from... Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't go to any of the ones in Chicago. But the history conferences in Los Angeles were just amazing. They did amazing things.
Yeah.
And I always thought, history conference, I'm thinking I'm going to love a third of it. I'm not going to care at all about another third of it. And the middle's a misvote. But it's surprising how things that I didn't think I'd be interested in all.
Yeah.
If there's a good story in it, I'm trapped.
Sure,
I'm there.
of course.
And that's what I love about these things.
And there are good stories. Everybody has a story. Everybody says everybody's got a book in them, they say. I think everyone has something that they have lived or seen. I thought, for an example, the story that Don Greenberg was talking about, where he had lived above those posters for all those years, not knowing that. Wow.
I couldn't tell whether the poster collectors in the room loved that or hated him for being above all of that stuff, and why couldn't they have gone there?
And discovered
let
that.
him sleep upstairs. We're going in the basement.
Exactly. So as that has evolved really from that LA History Conference, and that was kind of a difficult ticket to get into, because I remember you telling me years ago, Scott, if you get a chance, you don't get on the waiting list there.
Oh, their letter of invite would come out, and I'd write a check immediately and send it in.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I never got a chance to go to that, and I heard that the Hooker card rise, that John Gahn had put together was a highlight with that little teddy bear. And
oh, sure. John would build these things. Jim Steinmeier would write a script and put the thing together. It was just a lot of things. A Blue Room illusion. Just a ton.
$1 Million Mystery, I guess.
$1 Million Mystery.
Michael
Caveney did, sure. And these conference illusions were just us playing, not us because it wasn't me, but, back in our little Long Beach Mystic group, we had an act that we would go do for birthday parties and Cub Scout dinners and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then when we did a Mystic show, now I'm going to do the bird act, I'm going to get dressed up, and this was the play thing.
Yes.
And at the history conference, these guys that were all successful, this was their play things.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Long Beach Mystics, just real briefly, it was kind of funny yesterday when we were talking about Adele Herman, and also about James Hamilton playing the part of that. And I was sitting next to Mark Ray, and I said, have you ever, I remember seeing his show. Did you ever see it? He said, yeah, I was actually assisted him. They both were in the Long Beach Mystics together. Well, of course you had assisted him.
James was a charter member.
Was he? Okay.
He was at the very first. It was a little hobby shop, and the guy started a rock collecting club, a stamp collecting club, a magician's club, because he sold all of that stuff.
Okay,
So he built
sure.
clubs around the thing. Herb Brown.
Yeah.
And about 1955, and Jim was at the very first meeting where they voted on the name. It came down to two names. It was the Long Beach Mystics or the Little Genies.
Little Genies, okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes.
Sure. Jim loaned me the first book I read in magic, really, and it was My Life in Thurston, and he gave me a big lecture about how I had to take care of it. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he loaned me this book, and I went and read it every
Was he
page.
like 20 years older than you? Or?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, Jim was, about 5, 10, maybe 10, 12 years older than me.
Okay.
But he had a big library. He was a performing magician. I was like 14 years old and had a die box and a temple screen. Come on.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the exhibit yesterday, by the way, at the...
It's amazing.
The library.
It's amazing. It's overwhelming, But that one wall, just staring at all of those posters, that's mine. I just love paper.
Yeah.
But it's so well done. And I was just looking at the color on the walls that accent things and the way things are laid out and the signage that's with it. I go in, I look at that.
Yeah.
Because we do a couple museum things live from time
Yes,
to time, and I'm looking at how did they do this? Oh, these are pros. This is what they do.
The feng shui was perfect.
And I love the fact that Anne-Marie, who I just met yesterday, she is so invested in the magic world to make this thing so good. We're pretty damn lucky.
We are lucky. She has a passion for that and keeping that alive.
I'll
think that
say.
is great. Anything else? Just
well, I think Bill Smith's passion to keep this thing going.
Well, that's right. And next year we're going to be in Chicago. That's going to be pretty
Chicago.
great.
So I would say people see the name collectors and they're like, do I want to go to a collector's thing? If you like stories, that's what I collect, stories. That's what everybody here collects.
I heard David Copperfield say that, wasn't he?
He might have.
Yeah, he didn't collect all those things just because they're nice pieces, but they have stories.
Oh, yeah.
He collects the stories.
Yeah, and so I think the conference sometime, it might be a slight misnomer. This is if you like magic and stories about magic. This is the place to come, and the people. I love the people in this group. I mean, heck, I've always said, you don't have to have a conference. Just get these 200 and 250 people together and let them hang out in a room together.
To talk about.
They'll talk about everything.
Yeah, that's right. Stan, thanks very much. Always.
Nice to see you again.
We'll be seeing you in Vegas at the Orleans.
I'm thinking of going. I'm thinking of going to it.
With his number, what, 21?
No, it's 16.
16.
Yeah.
Well, you went 25 years with the magazine. You're going to go 25 years at the convention?
Well, I would have to start doubling them up or tripling them up.
We're getting older, dude.
Yeah, we should talk to my doctor or something and see what he says if we could do it.
Well, this year's, I'm sure, promised to be another great one you're going to knock out of the park. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
The Magic Word Podcast. Have Stan Allen. This is Scotty out. In previous years, I always have to stop and chat, of course, with my sister, Gay Blackstone, and because a lot of times that she is being honored for one thing or another, and before long we're going to be honoring her at the Academy of Magical Arts later this month, in which she's going to be getting a Lifetime Achievement Award. So congratulations for that.
I am honored, delighted, thrilled, and humbled.
Yeah. That was something because you had not ever received any other award from the
Magic
Academy.
Castle. No, because at least I don't do all the volunteer stuff and the things. I do them because I have a passion. I have a passion for magic. I have a desire to help wherever I can to make something better and to be there to be supportive. So. No, I've been past president of the BOD, and I've been the former chairman of the board of trustees.
Not at all.
Yeah, I've been there a lot of years.
Weren't you the emeritus? What was that?
BOT emeritus.
Yeah,
the one and only they've ever had. I think it's because they didn't want to get rid of me. I knew too much. So in all different directions. But no, so to get this year is. It really is just astonishing, and I am so delighted. But I'm also slightly humbled because when you look at the list of people who've received it in the last 63 years, I haven't gone back to check.
But
I think the only other female was Frances Marshall in like 1964 or so. So I could be mistaken.
It's been a while.
Oh, I mean, there have been some
long overdue
incredible people in the world who've received it. So.
Well, and this year we are here at the Collectors, and how have you been enjoying this convention so far?
Oh, this has been fabulous. Bill does such a great job, and a very dear friend of mine, Regina Reynolds, was here Tuesday night because there was a talk. It was actually in Charles on Word from an interview that he had done with David Charvet. And Regina is blind, and so therefore...
98 years old?
Oh, she's 98 years old, yes. Sharp as a tack, but blind. And it was interesting. I talked to her then yesterday, and I said, what do you think? And she said, well, in this day and age, with as many conventions and competition for the dollar that you have, she said there have been people through the years that have been great at conventions. She said Eddie Dawes. She said there was no one that you would go hear a lecture from who gave you any more facts, but she said it was all fact, 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 fact. And she said, but nowadays it's a little different. And she said you have to do a show. And she said, no matter what the lecture is, it's a show. And she said Bill did such a great job because she said the speakers that were on last night were all so entertaining and yet so informational. So she said, I thought it was fabulous. She said, Bill's got a winner. And I thought she summed it up very well. He works very hard, and he has a philosophy that he doesn't have anything on this convention that's something he would not enjoy hearing. And I think that's a great philosophy because it's broad stroke, but it's always fabulous.
Yeah. If you like what he likes, you're going to like this thing.
Yes, and
I like that.
I've known Bill. He started working for us when he was so young, and so was I. So it's like, there are moments I feel like we've kind of grown up together.
I was talking with someone yesterday about how that they used to see Harry Blackstone, I think, in Chicago, working at the Playboy Club up there.
Oh, yes.
And you were there for probably quite some time, as I recall, then, too.
We were there quite a bit, and it was in the Playboy Club in Chicago with Bill and myself that the floating of the light bulb out into the audience first occurred.
Is that where it happened?
That's where it was. And Harry, with his chutzpah, decided one night to go for it. And
in the Playboy Club.
In the Playboy Club with an audience.
Yeah.
And Bill and I was on stage, and and I looked over at him, and he was looking at me going, I don't know. And I'm out there going, all right, I'm smiling. I was as mystified at that moment as anyone else in the audience.
Now, I met the guy who was your stage manager the other night, and he said that was his idea of floating out of the audience. Okay, no?
No, it was not. It was no one else's but Harry's idea.
Okay.
And we didn't know he was going to do it. And I don't know if Harry knew he was going to do it 3 minutes before he did it. That was Harry.
That was Harry.
And so Mike did it in many, many places. Mm-hmm. And Mike is the person I use when someone licenses it, and I go to teach it to them.
Like Darren Romeo or something.
Yes, like Darren Romeo, Hans Klock, some of those people. Mike is the one who goes with me to teach it, to make sure everyone, even though they can put their own twist to it, but so that they know the classics and how to do it properly, because it's one of those things that's so much harder than anyone thinks. Yeah. And you want to do it right.
Yeah. Well, just kind of bring that all full circle of what I was going to mention is that I think Bill Smith had told me once when I had chatted with him for a podcast a long time ago when he was working with you guys at the Playboy Club, I think he ended up dating one of the bunnies.
Oh, yes. That was often the case with some of our different... Alan Bracken, there was one tour that we did that I remember Alan afterwards named it the No More Babes Tour. We seemed to work a lot of places with only older people that he was not interested in. But Bill dated one of the Playboy bunnies, and because we were in and out of Chicago at that point, so frequently, yes. So he dated one of them for quite a while.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying the convention. This has been a lot of fun, and just as Stan had said a while ago, that Bill could put together something in which if you get this group of people, whether you have anybody who is scheduled to talk or not, we would figure out what to do because everybody really enjoys each other's company.
And this is a group of talking.
That's right. We all can talk. Everybody. Yes, exactly.
And but in between the people who attend, the vast majority of them are so interesting in their own way. The collectors, who all have very diverse collections. Right. Gabe, who is the Potter and Potter auctioneer, and who knows so much about things and the value and their histories from that standpoint. I mean, it is such a diverse
Things
group.
come alive. History comes alive here.
Very much so. And that's how it's going to continue to live, is by coming alive now.
And I think people, if you get a chance to register for next year, being in Chicago, when it opens up, if you get a chance, you got to come. It's going to be great.
It's a little private plug. I was at the opening of the Hand and Eye.
And what do you think?
Phenomenal. Absolutely breathtaking. But now that you have the Hand and Eye, and you have the Chicago Magic Lounge with the Blackstone main theater, and then you have Rhapsody Theater, and then you've got a couple of their smaller ones. I mean, I think there may be more magic going on in Chicago than anywhere else in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. It seems to be, and even New York has really picked up a lot with the things that they're doing.
Yes, there's quite a bit of magic in New York also.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. As
Absolutely.
always, great chatting with you.
So good to see you.
Yeah. That's Over the Magic Word podcast. That was Gabe Blackstone. This is Scotty Al. So, we are just about getting ready for the dinner here shortly. I'm going to go up and change, but right now the dealer's room is completely closed, and boy, they've moved out quickly. The load out was faster than the load in, I'm sure. And I've got with me one of the dealers right now who is local from New York City, and that is Roger Dreyer. Hey, Roger.
Hey there, Scott. So, yes, it was another fun collectors convention.
Yeah.
The nice highlight for me was there was one or two young collectors. It's about time that we saw some young blood.
Great.
And there's a new gentleman named Joel that has a website, magic-collectors.com, that he cleaned out the Phantasma collectibles.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's going to get them all, put them up on his website, and how great it is for us to pass down all the treasures that I accumulated from Flosso and over the years. And now we have someone else that's able to take all the ephemera and collectibles and pass it on. And it was a lot of fun seeing old friends and seeing guys like Dr. Bruce Averbrook and talking about his collection, how he's expanding it, and of course the amazing Gabe Blackstone to see what she's up to with Masters of Illusion, and of course to see you, Mr. Scott Wells.
Thank you. And so obviously it was very successful for you as a dealer in there. And how many dealers do they have? About 15 dealers or so, would you say?
I would say maybe even more.
Okay.
But
like
it was
quite a few.
All of us dealers wanted a little bit more dealer time, like everything, but it's not about that. We're here to have fun and here to exchange and to trade. And it was the night before the Collectors Expo. We hosted with my wife a fun party for 50 of us collector nuts. So we showed off our Houdini museum, and as a result, hey now, I got some new Houdini on the horizon. So I'm all happy.
Yeah, I came in a day late. I'm sorry I missed that. I would love to have come. Sorry. But thanks for the invitation. And as far as the when I had talked with you before, we did an episode together, it was at the Phantasma shop. Do you still have that located there?
After we were in Midtown Manhattan across from Madison Square Garden for 15 years, and when COVID hit, we disappeared. But now we have even a larger Houdini museum located in the secret room of my home. So it's in Wayne, New Jersey. So yes, we do.
You got to go to your house to see it.
Okay. The invitation's open to nice collectors, and especially if they're friends with Scott Wells. And actually, our Houdini museum is 40% larger than it was in New York. And the most recent acquisition is we've discovered Houdini's Punch and Judy puppets in 1895.
I didn't know he collected those.
He didn't. In 1895, Houdini, after he got married in 1894, had to provide for Bess. He couldn't really get the gigs that he wanted, so as a result, he joined the Welsh Brothers Circus. The circus says, well, not only do we want you to do metamorphosis, but we want you to be a clown. We want you to be the wild man of Borneo. If you remember that Tony Curtis movie, there is the wild man. And then we need you to do Punch and Judy. Houdini says, I don't do Punch and Judy. Well, you have to. So Houdini hand-carved some of these puppets.
Wow.
And we found, thanks to John Cox, the ad in 1895 after Houdini's run. he was selling them for $5 in the New York Clipper. So I just acquired those puppets from a very well-known film producer, and he was a professor of film and history at School of Visual Arts. So I flew down to Nashville, and I flew back with 8 little scary-looking puppets.
And you got them displayed then now?
We have them displayed, and they come to life at night along with Q the robot and all the other crazy.
I was going to say, that was another thing I think is phenomenal. You got the robot that was from, what was the movie?
It was Master Misty Serial. We never say it's not the real robot. We just say it's the robot from Q, but thanks to John Gahn, he created the Q robot for us, the reproduction of Q. Right. So Q was called an automata. The word robot came out in 1920, and Q was known as an automata during 1918, 1919, and many sci-fi collectors say that the inspiration of today's modern-day robots is as a result of Houdini's film.
And also, there are film collectors who will vie and pay big money for the Houdini poster of the movie because of that robot, not because it's Houdini.
Absolutely. So, how much are you willing to pay for Q, Scott?
$250.
All right, sold. That's it for now.
Yeah.
I just made my quota. I'm signing off, Scott Wells.
Well, that sounds great. I'm glad you had a great time. Glad you had a good show then and here then as well. Is Phantasma in good hands, or are they?
Phantasma is very fortunate. We've been involved with Disney now for 5 years again. And now we're making Disney magic sets and Marvel magic sets, and you can find it from everywhere from Barnes & Noble to Toys R Us and other great retailers.
It's a Roger Dreyer product. There you go.
Amen.
Congratulations to you, my friend. So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Roger Dreyer. Scotty out. So he's getting ready to perform here shortly, so I'm just going to be real quick. But I'm with Noah Levine then right now. Hey there, Noah.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You are working, where do you work downtown in the city?
I do a magic show at Tannen's Magic Shop, and it's called Magic After Hours.
Which happens at what time?
It happens
7, 8 o'clock?
Wednesdays at 8, Fridays at 8 p.m. and 10:30. And I've been doing the show for about 12 years, and it's so much fun to be able to do magic in a magic store where, for so many magicians, that's kind of where they started.
And how many people attend?
30.
Okay, that seats about 30. You sell out pretty much all the time then, too?
Most times.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yeah. Now, do you do the same act every time, or do you have a different...
Little things change. Things change.
So do you do things that you learn at Tannen's? I mean, we have a new trick, and you kind of add those in?
And all sorts of stuff. I think I'm supposed to get cooking.
What time is the show? I think it's about time. Right. I'm going to shut up. Good to showtime. There we go. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Well, we just finished the evening show, and for that matter, we've just finished the convention. It's just over, and it's just been a great one at that. And we've had 3 performers who first did close-up, and then we had a wonderful dinner, and then we had, which was chicken, which was really good chicken, I thought, with dessert and everything. It was really fine. And also then the 3 close-up performers finished with showing us their stage shows. I've got with me right now David Sandy to help kind of recap the evening show.
Scott, it was a fantastic show. You know, the thing about it is, these 3 performers, Noah Levine, Rachel Wax, and Alex Boyce, they are true magicians because they can work in any environment. They did close-up for everyone prior to the show, and then after dinner, as you mentioned, they did a stage show. And it was very appropriate for the group. It was a good, as a producer of shows myself, I like a good texture and a good variety in the acts. And so we saw some three performers that didn't duplicate anything. Nope. They're different performers, but they complemented each other. Yeah. And it was fantastic. I mean, Rachel is so funny. She's a little bit edgy, but she customized it on the fly for the group, and I always appreciate that. Noah was fantastic. But I have to tell you, Alex Boyce, he is going to be, in a few years...
He's coming on strong.
He is coming on strong in a turbo mode because he not only understands... Every time, the times I've talked to him, every time he puts something in the act, he can take something old that has been 150 years old, and he knows the history behind the routine. He is well-researched, and he is just, my prediction in 20 years, Alex Boyce will have the type of respect that someone like Johnny Thompson had, because he knows all facets of magic, and I'm so impressed with Alex Boyce.
He is rapidly becoming my favorite magician. I've always said Ray Anderson is my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, Ray. Yeah.
As
but,
you
but,
know.
but they're different. But they're completely different.
Completely. But I tell you, Alex is a master of close-up and stage and doves and everything.
And he's a master of the history of magic, too.
Yes.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And so Alex is I just have so much respect for him. I just can't describe it. But the conference as a whole, it was fantastic. Bill had great speakers. And I have to say, as a guy that's sitting at the table helping Bill out, with the PowerPoints and all this type of thing,
sound and everything, yeah.
This particular AV company, the guys, Oscar and Andrew, were the best I've ever worked with.
Really?
In all the
That's
years,
saying a lot. You work with a lot.
I've worked
From
with
Branson
a lot.
and everywhere.
Yeah, they were on top of it. They had the right attitude, and I know
Are they from New York and they work at like a Broadway or something?
No.
They
They work here for an event production company.
Okay.
But I know your listeners, won't ever meet these guys. But I got to say personally, this convention, it went as smoothly and without hiccups. We didn't have the regular sound problems or. Where's my slide? Where's my PowerPoint?
Right.
It just went very, very well. So everybody here's the thing, Scott. Bill and I were partners in the first Magic Collector Expo in Minneapolis in 2019. Bill took it on because we were going to do it one time, and Lance and I, we've supported Bill. We help him out. We fill in the gaps wherever he asks us to. But Bill has really created something that he's got quite a following, and that's why he sells out. And I don't know if you've mentioned to your listeners or not, but next year being in Chicago, that's going to be fantastic. Chicago, there's a lot of magic history in Chicago.
And we haven't been there in years and years because that's kind of where it started with Jay Marshall for all those years.
With the old MCA and their collectors convention. So anyway, everybody had a great time. The dealer's room was packed. I brought an empty suitcase myself to take things home.
Of course you did.
And now I'm looking for extra ways to get more stuff on the plane without having to pay for it. So, yeah.
Well, this evening also, I thought it was interesting the way that they were doing close-up in three of the corners, and then the audience rotated to each of their shows, and they would do like about a 12-minute set, and then you would go to the next one or whatever. And you'd sit around a table and then hover around that, and everybody got to see everything, and just the reaction from each of the corners is like, that was fantastic. I've got to see the next one then, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like Abbott's in the early days, where the close-up was in four parts of the gym.
The gym.
But, Bill, who's one of the leading illusion builders in the world, he's not a close-up guy, although he can do one hell of a one-handed shuffle for an illusion builder.
Okay.
I mean, for a card guy, he can. But, the fact that he incorporated cocktails and close-up before the dinner tonight, I mean, he's just really checking off all the boxes. He's doing a great job with it.
And all the things he put together, by the way. One thing I do want to clarify, I had mentioned erroneously that tomorrow, which is not going to be part of the regular activity, that is they're going to be having the Grimm game, which I believe is going to be at the public library. Is that right? Okay.
Right.
I had erroneously said that John Cox was going to be helping to work with Dorothy Dietrich, but he's not. John wrote me on Facebook. He said, no, he said, Scott, you reported that. Please correct that. So, no, John's not here. He's not going to be part of that.
But, but John will be in Kansas City in September because a little sidebar, Kansas City was the first place Houdini did the upside-down straitjacket escape. In 100 years ago, and our club, our IBM Ring 129 and SAM Assembly 38, the city's given us permission, and the powers that be, and there's a lot of hoops that my friend Dennis Burks had to jump through, but he got permission at the very location where Houdini did the very first upside-down straitjacket escape. There's a beautiful, about a 400-pound bronze plaque that's going to be installed there, and John Cox is coming in to do a session at the Kansas City Public Library.
That's going to be when?
It's September. You caught me off guard.
September, this fall.
Yeah, this fall.
Okay.
It's going to coincide with a few days of the first time Houdini did it. But Scott, I have to, before you cut me off here, because you know I can talk forever. I'm going to see you in a few weeks, right?
Yes, we're going to the AMA.
Yes, and so we'll see you there.
Yes.
So well deserved on the but special fellowship.
Well, I got a special fellowship a couple of years ago. No,
Right.
I'm going to be getting the Melbourne Christopher Award.
That's right.
Yes.
You've got so many awards I can't keep track of them. So you'll be
well, you too. You got the
you'll be up-
Slate Award, Alan Slate. and all that.
Yes.
You're still ahead of me, man.
No. You deserve everything you get because you do such a tremendous. How many issues? How many episodes?
This one is going out as number 968.
So you've got 32 more episodes before we have the 1,000th
That's right.
episode of the podcast.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
excited.
got to do something
I
very
thank
special
you and
for
so
that.
many other people who have helped bring me where I am because it's just been fun talking to friends like you.
Yeah,
you know,
well
so.
deserved. So congratulations.
Thank you.
For everybody who did not make it to this year's Magic Collectors
Come next year
Expo,
in Chicago.
you need to make sure you're in Chicago
Yeah.
because it's only limited to 200 people.
What I was going to mention before I forget this, and that is that tonight is the 46th anniversary of the opening of the Blackstone Magnificent Musical Magic Show on Broadway, which is the longest running magic show, and that opened tonight in 1980.
You know, if you haven't already, you probably already talked to Gay Blackstone on this podcast. But something very serendipitous happened at our table tonight.
Explain that. Yeah, I haven't talked about that.
You know about it?
I just took a picture of her and the elephant. Yeah.
Okay, so
This is the elephant in the room. Go
Yes,
ahead.
Gay is at our table with Bill Smith and Mike Caveney and Gabe Verheury and all these great folks, Julie Ng and Bill Schmelk, and Lance and I. We have the props from the Blackstone Vanishing Elephant for our museum that we're in the process of doing. And we got to talking about that, and Lance was showing Gay some pictures of this stuff. And Bill Schmelk, who's sitting at the table, just happens to say, oh, yeah, whenever I built that, I made a model size, a scale model of the thing,
The elephant.
of the entire prop,
Oh, okay.
including they crafted John Bundy, who is an incredible scenic artist and magician and illusionist, made an elephant to scale out of foam with the costume and everything, so Bill could make sure all the angles were right in this small, scale model. And we're talking about this vanishing elephant that Blackstone did, and Bill said, "Oh yeah, I've got the replica of Misty the elephant in my car." We're going, what? What the hell do you have this
Just
from decades ago in the
why?
trunk of your car?
Yeah.
So he goes out and get it, and it practically brought Gay to tears,
Yeah.
and it became the centerpiece of our table for dinner tonight. And
Yeah.
Gay is just walking on air that she is reunited with Misty the elephant.
That was amazing.
One final time.
Amazing.
So amazing things happen at these events.
They
So you
do.
got to come.
Serendipitous, so to speak. Well, David, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful
Absolutely.
convention. I'm going to see if I can find Bill to see if he can kind of give us a wrap on this. But thank you for
Get
helping us
him
tonight.
before he has another glass of wine and heads to his suite to go to bed because he's an early to bed guy.
I know, for the Magic Word Podcast. So that was David Sandy. Scotty out. One of the performers this evening, we just quickly talked with Noah Levine, and Noah works at Tannen's, and actually someone who has gone to Tannen's Magic Camp and has grown up in New York and is working, one of the hardest working guys in New York City then right now. I've got with me who is performing not only close-up but also on stage here this evening for us, and that is my good friend Alex Boyce. Hello there, Alex. How
Hey,
are you?
Scott. Great. Glad to be on the Magic Word Podcast.
Always good to see you. I usually
thank
see
you.
you at Abbott's, it seems like every
Love
year.
being at Abbott's or
And
live, yeah.
So tell me about Tannen's Magic Camp. Are you going to be involved with that and teaching
I try to
this
go
year?
back every year. I have plans to be there this year. And my thing I'm excited about this year is I wanted to have props that the students could use in conjunction with the learning that was planned in advance, and not just like cards or coins, something like a specific routine. And I was lucky enough, Johnny Thompson taught me the balls and net in his home.
Oh, it's great.
Amongst
I love
many,
that routine.
Many routines, but on all the repertoire we studied, that was one of the pieces, and I go, he would be really happy if the next generation learned that. So I ordered all the balls, the nets, everything's ready to go, so every student in my class is going to have
nice.
a balls and net and have learned it the right way. So I'm very excited about that for
Now,
this
the
summer.
balls you're using, are they like the
They have to be like
balls?
They
or
have to
they're-
be like a bikini ball, like a bouncy silicone ball.
So, okay, silicone as
yeah,
opposed
because
to...
there's a double roll-up move, and you can't do the wooden balls
With your
for that.
hands, you have to pop
Exactly.
the one up, pop
right.
up. Yeah.
So
I know
you
what
need
mean.
for the double roll-up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great routine. So anyhow, this year, what was the lady who is Magic Mama? Just a minute.
Terry Cook.
Terry
Cook. Been running the camp for many years, and Adam Blumenthal, who's here, who, by the way, I want to shout out, did the most amazing presentation about the history of Tannen's Magic Shop. And I worked at Tannen's for years in the shop, and was not just on the floor,
but also... When did you first start? How old were you?
I was graduating college.
16? Oh, 18.
Yeah.
21, I guess.
Yeah, I was graduating college, and I was there for many years, and not just work on the floor, but also doing a lot of cataloging of the history and the collection and all of those things. So I knew a lot, or I thought I knew a lot about the history of Tannen's, and where he pulled all that information out about when Lou Tannen is 15 years old and what magic shop he was opening up and stuff. I mean,
that was news to you?
Oh, I knew he started young, but I had no idea that Adam had pictures to go with everything. It was entertaining and fascinating and a great story. And I hope he records it somehow, because it was an amazing talk.
It was, and I think that David Sandy and Lance Rich have helped put together the PowerPoint presentation, and that was very helpful. And it did show. I didn't know they'd moved around town so much. But one of the things I thought was kind of interesting, and I think someone pointed out a little bit earlier, Brad Henderson and I were talking about this, I believe, in Richard Cohen's talk, about how the magic shops have moved with the theater.
Yes.
So as a theater would move uptown or going to Manhattan or closer to Broadway or whatever, the magic shops would get closer, which makes sense because they would have theatrical makeup and masks, etc., and everything
where the crowds
that they would do. Exactly, right. But it was not just that; it was the magic that was with them then as well.
Absolutely.
So when you were working then at Tannen's, when did you start getting an interest in the history of magic? Because you have a deep, abiding love for the history.
I love the history of magic. That's why this has been such an awesome time. I would say I was always excited about the history of magic. I remember getting the illustrated Milbourne Christopher's book when I was a kid, and Houdini books and all of that. But I think amongst a few experiences, there was some really great things that happened at Magic Camp, for instance. One was Genie and Magic magazines were scattered all around. You could take them home. And so reading those, there was historical pieces scattered throughout. And you go, oh, that's exciting. That's a good story. That's interesting. That really spoke to me. And I definitely remember being younger. I wasn't so much a kid, but I was a younger guy. And I saw Caveney do his lecture on Egyptian Hall Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And the experience of having he had a piece of paper that Alexander Herman's hand had been transferred. The ink on his hand had been put on that paper, and you could see his palm print at the end of the lecture. You could come up and put your hand over his hand, and it was exciting. It was entertaining. There was the whole Chung Ling Soo Billy Robinson, and I think that hooked me a lot too. But really, at the end of the day, it's people. And you go to Abbott's, you meet people. You go to Magic Live, you meet people. And over time, you hear these stories of magic, and at some point somebody calls them stories, some people call them history, but really it's just like great storytelling, and who doesn't like that?
And everybody here has a story about their collection, how they got involved, or whatever they collect.
But to that point about collections, one thing that's really awesome is when you travel as a performer like myself, I now have not just a magic friend in every city, but a collection friend. And you can go and call them up and say, hey, Ray Ricard, I'm in Providence. I want to come and see the library. Do you think we can make that happen?
Right.
And you see that amazing thing. And now more and more people like David and Lance are building their amazing museum in Missouri. And so you can travel around, you see these amazing collections. And it's a great way to spend some time on the road, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get to meet so many different people, because you have like interests,
Absolutely.
with people right away that you can share
also,
when you do travel.
I would say I learned so much from Gabe Fahiri through Potter and Potter, because he brings out catalogs with items I've never heard of before, posters of magicians I've never heard before, and now I'm interested. I'm going, oh, what is that? And now I can explore that, and I get to learn stuff. And I mean, I just don't know anybody that knows as much as Gabe does about stuff. It's crazy.
I'm anxious to go to Chicago next year. I've never been to Potter & Potter's house. I mean, their auction house. Yeah,
it's wild.
Have you been there?
So much stuff. Yeah, so every time I go to Chicago, I go visit Gabe at the office, and there's just everything you can imagine is there. Sometimes 3 of them. It's just amazing.
I know he has a lot of stuff that doesn't sell in the auctions, and of course he has a lot of things he's accumulating for the next auction.
Exactly.
But then even after they're over, there are things that don't sell, and so it's available that you can buy retail.
There's a retail component to the business. There's so many parts of it. Yeah. Big business.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm anxious to attend that then next year.
Absolutely.
And so now you work regularly also at what's the name of the little bit of magic?
Speakeasy Magic is my home base. We're really happy to be part of it. I'm so proud to be there since the first night. I think there's something really special happening there, and we'd love to invite anybody that's out there.
And it's you and Peter Samuelson and Rachel Wax. And,
you know what? We're so lucky. We have a great cast of really fantastic magicians, and you can come and check it out.
Yeah. And if they want to make reservations, what's the website?
SpeakeasyMagic.com, and it's stylized with a K at the end, so it's Speakeasy Magic with a K.
Very good. Alex, thanks very much, and it was always a pleasure to chat with you.
My
and
pleasure. Good to
I
see
wish you great success. I always like talking with you,
Yeah.
Because it kind of reminds me when I've talked with Carissa Hendricks or Lucy Darling, she said, if people listen to me on your different podcasts, you can track my trajectory of my career, of how I've done. And so I hope as you and I talk, like we have at Abbottson, people can track your trajectory as you continue your successful career going on, launching into the future. So
thank you so much.
Good luck, and we will talk more later.
Okay, sounds good.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Alex Boyce. This is Scotty out. So, as I said, the party's over, and we're doing a wrap, and on the first day you heard Bill over there at the registration desk. He said, it's going to be busy. I'm not going to be able to talk much, but we can tonight. Real briefly, hey, Bill, congratulations on another year. Well done.
It was almost perfect.
I think it was in every case. Now, you told me we may not be able to talk because you were concerned about the weather yesterday, that it might rain, and we had a perfect day for going to the library.
When I come into these things, I don't know what. I tell everybody, I book what I want to see.
Sure.
I've been to a lot of boring magic collectors where they're talking about collecting bookmarks and dust jackets and all that. And I think, I told you the other night, I said, I book what I think. And the one wild card was Kreskin. I wasn't a huge fan of Kreskin, but I appreciated his showmanship and his career and all that.
He's contributed a lot.
And I never was a mentalist. I didn't like mentalism. Even in the early day at the castle. I started the castle in 1974. And we had so many different mentalists. Max was great, and Glenn Falkenstein and all that. But when I saw Gabe's catalog that he had a Harbin book. Kreskin had a Harbin book.
Yeah, that's a magic book.
He was an original one when it came out. So it was great. But my favorite, I'm not going to, I don't always say this, but the New York Magic Shops was a home run.
Yeah.
It really was.
Between Richard and...
big Richard Cohn and
Adam Blumenthal.
And it was because I want about the rich history of these towns I come to. They don't be biased about this, but I think I have a unique thing going. I only go to cities that have a unique magic history. And there's nothing bigger than New York.
Right.
It all started here. I'm a West Coast guy, and there's always been a New York West Coast. New York wins on age, from everybody, the magic shops and the magic clubs and all that. But the West Coast, we have the castle, and we all have all of that. So, and that's why next year we're going to Chicago, because that's where Magic Collectors Association
Jay Marshall
started.
All that,
right? Jay started it, Walter Gideson, and that's why we had to go back. And I couldn't afford it, frankly. I'm a one man. I'm a one man. I got to make a little money on this.
We've always talked about why they haven't had magic conventions. I mean, the IBM and SAM is kind of like, well, the unions cost too much there, But I'm glad that you guys are taking
here's
it
the
back.
deal. It's like Chicago is always expensive, but people don't realize Chicago is the biggest convention town in the States. But the convention,
more than San Antonio or New Orleans or
all of them.
Wow.
But the Chicago is the most big major conventions are during the week. It's cheaper for me to do the weekends. So they match Newark, New Jersey. The hotel rooms are the same in Chicago. My ballroom cost is the same. And that's the one reason we're going for Chicago.
And we're also weekend as opposed to like here we're Tuesday, Wednesday,
weekends
Thursday.
Are cheaper.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
And so we're going there. That's where it all started with the MCA. And there's the new Hand and Eye. Yeah. There's the Rapid City Theater and the Chicago Magic Lounge. But our main focus will be Potter and Potter. Yeah. We're going to do something with Gabe. But before and after, we're trying to get some deals with all these different clubs so people can go to the Magic Lounge for a little discount, and Hand and I and Rhapsody Theater for a little discount, and it's going to be great.
Just to go and experience.
And I know you're going to be there.
Absolutely, be there.
You got a registration comp for life, buddy. Okay?
You're the best. Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I got to keep plugging this also, because I tell you, everybody need to come at this convention. I'm guessing that sometime in the future, once that David Sandy gets his
I didn't
thing
announce
finished,
it. You can announce it now, because hopefully 2028 we're going to Kansas City.
There we go, because Houdini's been there.
I didn't have time to say it,
Yeah.
but that's where we're going to
Look at
go.
that. See, I got goosebumps.
All right. Well, I love you. I love you, Scott. I really do.
Thank you for your support for the podcast. You've been a great friend, and I appreciate it. Great convention. So the Magic Word Podcast, I think that was a wrap then right now. That's Bill Smith. Scotty out.